itself. But we're talking about the sugar sector. That's the one in focus. The performance of integrated sugar mills is expected to improve due to expanded distillery capabilities and better realizations. Sabyasachi Majumdar, who's the Senior Vice President and Group Head at ICRA Ratings, joins us now. Sabyasachi, you know, we've been speaking to a lot of the companies. They have looked at expanding their distillery capabilities, and as a result of which they are expecting better realizations for the ethanol as well. Could you help put some numbers to what the current ethanol capacity is right now? How much will it go up to? Who are the companies that will increase their capacity the most?
So basically right now we are looking at a total capacity of about 4.2, 4.3 billion liters a year. And the actual offtake for the closing season would be somewhere around 3 billion, because we have already achieved a 10% blending in petrol, and about 30 million tons is the consumption. So 3 million ton or 3 billion liters would be the rough offtake, and the total capacity would be 4.2 billion liters. Now this is basically the government is proposing to expand it to 7 billion liters in a calibrated manner over the next few years. So that is the kind of expansion that we are looking at. But it would also depend upon how the sugarcane production ramps up. What are the international supply demand trends? What are the crude price trends? A lot of those factors would also determine ultimately how much of and what kind of supportive prices are given by the government. So they would really determine how much total capacity would ultimately be set up.
Okay. All right. Could you give us a sense in terms of what you're factoring in when it comes to sugar realizations as well?
So right now we are looking at about 34.5, 35 rupees a kg, and the prices are being supported by the fact that overall, although this has been a record year in terms of production, we have also seen a record export. Something like 9 million tons of sugar has been exported, and a substantial amount of sucrose, which was earlier being taken as sugar only. Now, because the government has permitted, apart from molasses-based sugar, even sugarcane juice as well as B-heavy molasses to be diverted for use of production of ethanol. Substantial amount of sucrose has been diverted towards ethanol. That has really supported the sugar prices in spite of the record production. And going forward also, we don't expect further upsides, but given the fact that we'll be ending this year with just about 3 months stock, which is considered to be quite optimal, and given the fact that exports are likely to be feasible and continued, diversion is going to continue towards ethanol, we would expect the prices, at least in the near term, to remain stable.
Shed some more light on how the demand-supply dynamics work in the ethanol space, because you said that currently 4.3 billion liters is our capacity, whereas demand at 10% blending is just around 3 billion, and this 4.3 goes into 7 billion over the next few years, gradually as the government has planned. What happens to demand? Does demand grow at the same pace? And as a result of which, what are the realization outlook, realization scenarios that you have?
So, the government's next plan is to go from 10% to 20% over a period of time.
Okay.
But it also depends upon whether the automobile industry also, because the automobile industry also feels, that certain changes will be required. I mean, they are not confident about, using E20 as a fuel. So a lot will also depend upon that. In fact, there are a few states which have already crossed 10% in terms of ethanol blending. So it really depends upon how we are able to move the blending beyond 10% to get into the 20% range. So a lot of, it will depend also upon the acceptability from the automobile sector.
Okay, all right, that point
but
is...
this is not going to happen in 1 year. It will be a period of time over which it's going to materialize.
Okay, all right, that point is taken. In fact, I just wanted to understand the risks to your estimates and also what you're probably envisaging when it comes to global raw sugar prices as well as white sugar prices, considering that white sugar prices especially had hit multi-year highs just last month.
Okay, correct. So this year, the supply-demand scenario is pretty clear that, we have produced about 36 million tons of sugar. 10 million tons, close to 9.5 at least will be exported. So 27.5 million tons will be consumed locally. So we'll be down to about 3 months stock. Now, next year, of course, it's a bit too early to take a call on the production because, this is an agro subject to agroclimatic risk. But given the sowing and progress of the monsoon, somewhere, production in a similar amount cannot be ruled out. In fact, that's the likely, we could look at another 36 million ton next year. Now, assuming about 28 million ton would be the, domestic consumption, and maybe there might be some further diversion towards, ethanol, still we need to export maybe 6 to 7 million tons for the stock position to remain stable. Now, we must remember that this year we are going to do 9.5 million ton of sugar without any kind of subsidy support from any significant amount of subsidy support from the central government. But next year, of course, it's expected that the overall supply-demand position would be balanced. We're looking at somewhere around 183 million tons as the global production, because there will be some recovery at least from Brazil and Thailand. And the total consumption, which is about 179 million tons for the current sugar year, should also increase by 1 or 2 percentage points. So broadly, even the next year, the overall balances are not going to be significantly destabilized, at least in the base case. So it should be possible for us to export with a little bit of government support in terms of subsidy. But yes, downside risk could happen if, the oil prices were to correct very significantly from the current level. If there were positive surprises in terms of Brazil's cane production, which causes them to shift more towards raw sugar, in that case, of course, there could be certain amount of risks on the sugar prices going forward.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sabyasachi, for joining in and breaking that down for us. We hope that, the estimates that you have with regards to demand increasing, the capacity increasing, and the realizations increasing as a whole do fructify without the risks that you envisage as well. With that, we'll take a short break. On the other side, we'll get talking markets. Jay Thakkar of Marwadi Shares and Finance will join in with some trading strategies.